Hello there, my name's Alexander White, and this week what I wanted to show you is how to make sure that your vocals stay front and centre in your mix. What I have here for you is a little A-B straight away so you can hear the difference this is going to make. And then what I'll do is I'll remove the plugins and I'll show you step by step how you build this chain and how to think about which settings you choose on which processor. So let me play you a little bit of the chorus. What to listen out for, it'll be fairly obvious, but on the second part of this little segment that I'm going to play of the chorus, you'll notice without the plugins, the vocal falls away and kind of disappears into the mix. So let's have a listen, first of all, with the plugins and then without. Alright, so now let's switch the plugins off and listen out for the second part of that chorus. Alright, we'll just do it one more time. Here we go with the plugins. And without. Now this mix doesn't have anything on it otherwise, it's just as the tracks were recorded, and we're just starting off with processing the vocal. So you could probably hear how the second part of that chorus does drop right away. And this is what this chain really helps with. Just before we get started, I will just show you the processors that we're using, and then I'll really dig into each of them and set them up from scratch. So first of all, we have an 1176 compressor. Then we have an LA2A compressor, followed by a 660 Fairchild. Then the Universal Audio 610A preamp. It's actually acting as a distortion on this track. That's how I'm using it. And finally, we simply have a De-Esser, and that's what that's doing. So let's start from scratch. Let's remove all of the plugins and we'll build this chain from scratch. So the first thing that we're going to do is have a little listen to the verse, because we need to kind of know what we're dealing with when we're starting these plugins. We have our fader balance set up, so the mix is kind of balanced on the desk, so everything should be sort of in the right range, and then we want to listen out for the problems that we've got dynamically. So let's hit play and just listen to some of the verse. Even in the verse, there are bits that are jumping out and there are bits that are sitting back. So the first thing I want to do is get a compressor just to control the loudest sections. The reason I don't tend to use just one compressor for this is because with one compressor, if you're dealing with, mid-level sounds, dynamically speaking, and then suddenly you get a big sound, that compressor has to work extra hard. Then you'll see the needle fly right back if you're using those kind of classic vintage style compressors, or the meter will come right back. And then it has to recover really fast to get to the next word in time. And that can just simply mean that you hear the compressor acting in sometimes a bit of an unpleasant way. Sometimes it can create quite a nice texture. It's always worth trying, but generally for a vocal like this, which is quite dynamic, I like to take off the top layer of the dynamics first. Really what I'm doing is I'm putting it through a bunch of compressors so none of them work too hard, but they are all doing slightly different things. They're tackling different parts of the audio. So let's go and open up our first compressor, which is in this case an 1176. Here's the 1176. Now If you don't have an 1176, don't worry. You don't specifically need one. You don't specifically need this one. The key is that it must be able to be quite a fast attack. So this one, I think it's down to 20 microseconds. And it goes up to, I think, almost a millisecond. It's something like 800 microseconds. And the release is a fairly normal release that can go all the way up to about, I think it's 1.2 seconds. So you've got quite a wide range on that. But what I want to do with this, first of all, is listen to the vocal. And I'm going to set this up so, first of all, my attack is going to be as fast as it can be. Because I just want this compressor to come straight in and clamp down on the loudest parts of this vocal, just to keep them in place. And then I want to let go for the kind of the mid-rangey, dynamically speaking, mid-rangey stuff. Let's set this up. Here we go. I'm going to just play the track and you'll see me adjusting the input here, and the input changes basically how much compression we get. The way this compressor works is it has a fixed threshold, and then you simply raise the level of the audio to meet that threshold so it starts to turn the vocal down. On the output, I will just be level matching, and I'm going to leave the attack fast and I'm going to leave the release fast. So it clamps down, does its thing and gets immediately out the way. I'm also going to set the ratio up to 20:1, which simply means it's kind of acting like a limiter. It really just means the audio isn't going to get any louder once it meets that threshold, really just keeping those very loudest parts in place. So let's go and set this up. Watch out for the gain reduction meter here, just so you can get an idea of how much gain reduction I'm getting. Of course, I'm not relying on the gain reduction meter to set this compressor, I'm listening to it. But it's a helpful thing to know so you have some idea of how to set it up for yourself. Anyway, let's have a listen. Of course, because we're changing the dynamic relationship between the loudest and the quietest parts, when I'm setting the output to try to level match, of course you can't really level match because you've changed the audio now. So really what you're doing is you're looking for a place where it feels like it's about the same volume. What I tend to find is that means I tend to make the loudest parts about balanced, bringing up the quieter parts because I'm turning the compressor up because I've brought the level down of the loudest parts. Now I'm recovering that gain to kind of return it to something that matches the original vocal at its loudest parts. Already, just with this one compressor, doing maybe, I think I saw up to about 5 decibels of gain reduction. Already we're starting to hear that vocal start to come to the front of the mix and not fall away. I'm just going to back it off a little bit because I think it's working just a touch too hard. And I'll recover some of the output gain. Here we go. Okay, so there you can see that as the vocal's playing, the quieter parts aren't really being compressed. I am just letting this compressor handle the loud sections. Let's go to the chorus now and see what is happening chorus-wise. Yeah, you can see it really working in all those key places. So that is the first bit of this chain. The second bit is an LA2A. Now, what this is going to be doing is it's going to be controlling the main body. Now that we've taken down the loudest bit, so this LA2A doesn't have to suddenly fly into extreme compression to try to make it back in time to catch the next word, which might be a little quieter, so it's not still in gain reduction, so it doesn't make the quieter word quieter. That's what we're trying to avoid with this process, and that's what we're going to get here. So I'm going to just, again, the gain here will level match, and then the peak reduction is how much compression I'm getting. This is very much a set by ear situation again, but of course, Keep an eye out on the meter here because that will show you how much gain reduction we're getting. As I say, it's helpful as a learning tool, but always use your ears when setting these things up. All right, let's try it. Now I'm going to head back to the verse and I'm going to have a listen and see how it's reacting on the verse. So here we go. You came in thinking that I would fall in your trap, but... So I'm going to back this off very slightly. It's kind of in compression all the time. I don't need it to be that aggressive. So I'm going to just back that peak reduction off a little bit. That's a better place. It's maybe the needle's just starting to move on the quieter parts. And this should give us a natural sounding vocal, but still make sure that we don't lose any of it. Let's continue on. Just get this gain here set up so it sort of is level matched. So you might have noticed me switching that compressor on and off, really just making sure that it is somewhere around the same volume. And the reason is, when I turn all the plugins off, I don't want to hear a big volume change. I don't want to suddenly get an artificial impression that I've made it better by making it louder. I want to know I've actually made the vocal better and I'm not being tricked by volume. So let's keep going. Okay, this is coming together. Let's go on to the chorus and see how that's feeling. Don't define me. I know I'm better by myself, 'cause you tie me, yeah, and it's getting better for my health. Okay, let's see now, just like we did earlier when we did the A-B between all of the chain and off. Let's just see how much difference we've made to that chorus, because we know there was a big problem on that chorus. So let's see how much difference we've made with just these two plugins. Here we go, plugins on first, just that same little section, and then plugins off to see how much difference we've made to that too quiet second half. Here we go. Don't define me. I know I'm better by myself, 'cause you tie me, yeah, and it's getting better for my health. Plugins off. Don't define me. I know I'm better by myself, 'cause you tie me, yeah, and it's getting better for my health. Let me go and zone in specifically on the lines that disappear, and we'll have another A-B of that. Here we go. Plugins on. Yeah, we're starting to make the difference. We're starting to get there. But you know what? It's still disappearing a little bit. Well, there's another thing that you can do, and I think this is maybe the special trick bit of this whole process, is getting a Fairchild 660. And again, you don't need to worry about it being a Fairchild 660. A compressor, again, that can work quite fast in this case. Time constant 1 on this compressor is fairly fast, both on the release and the attack. And all I want to do is I want to dig into this so we've got way too much compression. And I'm going to do it by turning up the input gain on here, and then I'm going to turn down the output. All right. So we're looking to crush this vocal, probably a bit tastelessly. Let's go in and sort that out. Here we go. Again, I'm going to level match to make sure that when it's off and when it's on, it's about the same volume. You will really notice quite a weird, probably unpleasant tone from this compressor because we're hitting it so hard. And then we're going to do something in a second, which is going to change how that works in the mix. So let's get the AB between the compressor level fixed first. Here we go. That's about right. When it's switched off, it's about the same relative level, although it's so crushed that, of course, quiet sections are now going to seem really loud. The reason, by the way, I'm using the Fairchild is because this particular one has a whole bunch of emulation of the tubes in the real thing, and it just adds a bit of harmonic distortion, a bit of harmonic excitement as well. I just like that tone and texture for doing this kind of process with. So the next stage is the mix control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend the unprocessed sound in with the processed compressor here. So let's just find the place where it seems right. Here we go. And I'm going to nip back to the verse, and we'll just have a little listen to the verse. You came in thinking that I would fall in your trap, but you know, looking back, I had a feeling about you. Time moves on. You can probably hear how now the vocalist sounds even closer to us. You can hear almost like the air in the voice from this compressor. Partly that's due to some of the harmonic distortions that it's adding, and it's also just because the compressor's working overtime and we're getting loads of tone out of that compressor. I quite like 50/50 at the moment, so I'm sort of going to leave it there. However, let's quickly do the usual thing where we quickly A/B our three plugins and see what difference we're making. So first of all, we'll listen to some of the verse now, just for the difference. We'll listen to the verse with these three on, and then we'll switch them off and listen again. Here we go with them on first. You came in thinking that I would fall in your trap, but you know, looking back, I had a feeling about you. You came in thinking that I would fall in your trap, but... Well, that makes a huge difference. Literally the very first word is much more present here. Switch it off. You came in thinking that. And yet, you know, you came in thinking that. The word in is about the same in both cases, but the rest of it now, you can really hear it where it falls away without it. Here we go. Let's do it one more time. You came in thinking that. You came in thinking that. All the stuff is really coming out nicely, so we're making a big difference. Now, let's listen to it all the way through the verse into the chorus a little bit, and let's listen out for any further problems that we might want to fix. I'll switch that off to make sure I don't accidentally disengage the plugins, and here we go. You came in thinking that I would fall in your trap, but you know, looking back, I had a feeling about you. Time moves on. We're making a big difference. This is starting to sound like a record rather than just a recorded vocal with all the problems that they tend to have. This is now starting to punch the front of the mix. The problem that I'm hearing, that you might be hearing as well, is we're getting lots of S's and T's. They're starting to shout through a little bit louder because these compressors are working quite a lot and they're not perfect machines. They're still letting through tiny bits of those transients. Now, a lot of that is quite desirable because it adds to the spit. Basically, it adds to the energy. It makes it sound like the singer is singing harder because every tss and t is just sharp. But we do want to tame it a little bit because it's starting to seem a little bit aggressive. And I like to do this by using a De-Esser. Indeed, we're going to use that in a minute. But firstly, I want to put a little bit of distortion on it, because distortion rounds off those sharp sounds in a really musical way, while simultaneously adding yet more excitement. So what I'm going to use for this is the Universal Audio 610. It doesn't matter, again, whether it's a Universal Audio 610 specifically. You can use any kind of distortion which can start very clean and pretty much unprocessed, that you can slowly roll in to give you harmonic distortions. So preamp emulations that emulate the harmonic distortion characteristics of the preamp are great for this. This is a tube preamp. It saturates in a really gentle way, bringing in more glow and obviously at some point leading to distortion. Using a kind of distortion pedal might not be the right choice because they probably sound quite gnarly from the very beginning, regardless of where you set them. And they've probably got quite a lot of EQ baked in and things like that. So make sure you pick the right kind of processor. But there are loads out there. You just want something that can add a bit of grit. So what I'm going to do is use this output control here in order to just set the output level, and I'm going to bring this main level up until I start to get some little bit of crunch, a little bit of bite on the vocal. Here we go. Let's dig in. Just keep an eye on this output and this level control, and you'll see that's what I'm adjusting to get to the tone that I'm looking for. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, I'm just going to level match. I quite like what that's doing. You noticed maybe kind of past that midday point, that's where we started to really hear it as audible distortion. That can be called as a creative effect, but the creative effect is something I'd probably do a little bit later on in this chain. I'd probably revisit maybe even this plugin and put that on at the end if I wanted a bit of that rock, noticeable rock distortion. But in this particular process, I'm just trying to control these vocals, and I want the harmonic distortions to be fairly invisible, just helping me with those peaks. So kind of around midday felt fairly good. Now let's make sure it's level matched. I'm actually going to back it off a little more because I can still hear just a little bit more grit than I want for this vocal. Let's continue. This is one of those things that is kind of almost an invisible process in a way. The place to listen is on those T's and S's, and you'll notice they just go from being irritating to being a bit less irritating. Suddenly you're just thinking, well, maybe we haven't finished this process, the whole chain yet. We do still have a De-Esser to go, but you'll probably hear that there is that little bit of softening and a little bit of excitement that's brought in. So I'm going to do an A-B again and just really listen to the stuff on that vocal. Well, I don't know about you, but I really noticed that difference. The T's and S's go from annoying and irritating and kind of piercing to just not. They're still there, they're still spitty, they still sound exciting, but now you can't, that doesn't hurt your ears. It doesn't sound like it's needles stabbing into them. That's lovely. So I'm going to leave that there. Now, finally, I do just want now to settle the S's down with a De-Esser. So what I'm going to do is choose Nectar 3, use any De-Esser you like. It's this particular process, it's not a big deal. Any De-Esser will do this job. This is just the one that comes to mind, and I'm going to use this. So I'm going to bring this threshold down here. I'm going to even leave it at default. I might change it if I think I need to, but I don't think I'm going to need to. And I'm just going to listen and see where I think that I'm getting rid of the S's and T's enough that I still have the energy, but they've softened even more. Let's check it out. I'm going to raise the threshold just a little bit. I quite liked it around there, but a couple of the T's and S's sound like they were sitting too far back and I'd lost some energy. So let's try this. Yeah, okay, that's feeling good. Now, let's just listen from the verse through the chorus and just see if there's anything else we need to do. There shouldn't be anything more. That should be everything for this particular process we're doing, which is just to park your vocals at the front of the mix. Let's have a listen. Yeah, except other than feeling now, and this is part of mixing, other than feeling that maybe I just want to push the whole vocal up in volume a little bit, just to, literally a level thing compared to the track, we didn't lose the vocal at all. It stayed absolutely where it needed to be. You could hear every word, all the THs, the S's, the emotional delivery of that vocal was now right at the front of the mix. So let's just have a quick recap. 1176 to catch the really big peaks. Again, don't let it work too hard. Don't have it compressing all the time. Just occasionally when those big sounds hit, you should see that 1176 on the high ratio. Let me open it up. On the high ratio, fast attack, fast release, clamping down and then getting out of the way really fast. The LA2A, again, just this is a very sort of average attack, average release compressor. The LA2A is great because it is sort of a program dependent compressor. It just works based on kind of what's happening with the transient. It even adjusts the actual ratio inside of it, but the ratio is about 3:1. Again, don't worry if you don't have one. Just get a compressor that's kind of working 2:1, 3:1, attack time of maybe 5 to 10 milliseconds, release time of maybe 250 milliseconds, something like that. That is just generally giving us a bit of level control. That will usually be doing a little tiny touch of compression even on the quietest parts. So that is just a general leveling tool. Then probably the star of the show, which gives us all that kind of mixable excitement. the Fairchild 660. And, again, don't worry if you don't have a Fairchild 660, just get a compressor that works fairly fast on the attack and the release and crush it. Just dig right in so you're getting, maybe 10 or 15 decibels of gain reduction. If it flies between like 5 and 6 to 10 and 12, yeah, that's fine. But listen, just use your ears. You're trying to get that excitement out of the compressor. Level match it and then blend it in. Today I've chosen 50% a 50-50 mix. Some days it's way down here. It's, for me, rarely up here, but you know what? Use your ears, you never know. The key is blend it in. You're crushing the vocal so hard that all of the quiet stuff is essentially using this compressor to bring up that real detail in the vocal. Then you'll probably start to have got a little bit of brittleness in the vocal because there is so much punishment going on with the compressors. Use a harmonic distortion generator of some sort, whether it's a preamp emulation or a distortion. Put it on the vocal and just find that point just before you start to hear it as actual distortion, and just try and find that balance. It's that point right before you hear the guitar amp style distortion where it starts to break up. That will soften all of that sharpness. And then finally, you may find you need to follow it up with a De-Esser just to take away the remaining S and T imbalances. This is always one that I sometimes think, well, I could probably do without this and it would just sound like a really spitty, exciting, powerful vocal. And if you do want to learn any more about mixing, I have a wonderful free guide for you on my website. That's recordwithalex.com, and I have a 6-step process there which you can follow that gives you my whole kind of mixing workflow condensed down into something that is kind of easy to manage if you're new to mixing, or you are just looking to refine your skills. You've been doing it for a while maybe and you still haven't quite got mixes that feel great to you. Go and grab my free guide. It will really help you out. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's video. I hope you've learned some stuff about helping get those vocals to the front of the mix. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know if you like to stack compressors in your mixes. Thank you so much, and I'll catch up with you on another video very soon.